future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
She's passionate about telling stories of amazing women who are rocking the world and empowering women to live, love, and thrive. Here's your host, Catherine Gray.
Thank you, and welcome to Live, Love, Thrive, the Women's Empowerment Hour. I have two incredible guests on today, Ann Boroch and Elaine Hall, and I'm just very grateful and very fortunate to know these two ladies. They are the epitome of giving back is what really brings happiness, and that the challenges we have in life usually are what lead us to our life's purpose, and that's the case with both of them. For later in the show, we're going to have Elaine Hall, who created the Miracle Project, which is the focus of an Emmy Award-winning HBO documentary called Autism the Musical. But first, we're going to meet Ann Boroch, who is the author of the Candida Diet. She contracted MS, multiple sclerosis, at a very young age, and was bedridden for a long time and didn't even think she was going to make it. And then she learned to holistically heal herself, and now she helps heal people all over the world. Please welcome the incredible and wonderful friend of mine, Ann Boroch.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you so much for having me on. It's such a pleasure.
Yes, absolutely. I know you're here in LA from New York, and so happy to have you back. This is really your hometown.
It is.
Yeah. And your story is so amazing and so inspiring, and I'm so happy that you're going to share it with everybody today. Let's start with the very beginning of how this journey began for you. Tell me a little bit about your 20s and how this all started to manifest.
Well, it goes a little earlier than the 20s, but quickly I was someone who was the poster child for illness. I was a sugar addict and had many antibiotics, and by the time I was 18, I had rotted every tooth out from too much sugar, and I was immune to penicillin by the time I was 9. I had had so many antibiotics. And then when I was 18, I had the kissing disease, mono, and the doctor said, well, just rest. Well, I never got better. And through a very short span of time, I saw several specialists. I was on more than 20 different medications, and I was really toxic from the side effects. And it was at that time I came across Dr. William Crook's book. It was The Yeast Connection. He was the second MD to popularize this.
And it's hard to trust a guy named Crooks.
Exactly, right? So anyway,
I weren't born with that name.
So I took the questionnaire and I cried. It was every symptom I had, and it's a yeast overgrowth that I think is epidemic in today's world. And I followed
what kind of questions did it ask you, just out of curiosity?
Have you ever taken a course of antibiotics? And do you have brain fog? And do you have depression? And do you, I was just, everything about me, everything on the list was hitting it, and particularly based on my history.
And so you don't think you were born just like an ill child or person? You think that it cultivated over our cultural things, like your environment and the things you were eating? And
absolutely. I think that, we all have genes, but it's really more about the epigenetics. It's more about the expression of those genes and turning them off and on based on what you eat, what you think, how you manage stress, etc. So absolutely, if you looked back at my history, I was type A, and I was, high stress.
Was or is?
I'm an A- now. I'm working on B+.
It takes one to know one, right?
Exactly. So, and then it was just that I got better than at 18. I followed this for a year. I followed the protocol of an anti-Candida diet to starve off yeast overgrowth. And we all have this. It's just you have to have an imbalance in your GI tract and throughout the body. And I took an antifungal drug called Nilstat powder. And when I got better, I just thought, okay, I can go back to my life and my ways. But I didn't realize that I had to maintain balance. And at 24, I was in a restaurant, and to you, it looked like I had a conscious epileptic attack. And within 2 weeks, doctor says, well, great news, you don't have cancer. Bad news, you have multiple sclerosis. We have chemotherapy, and get ready for the wheelchair.
And how old were you when they told you that?
24.
24, they're telling you you're going to end up in a wheelchair.
And chemotherapy. And I looked at my mother and I said, I don't even really know what this is. I know it's considered incurable, but if I take this drug, I'm not going to make it. So will you support me and get me out of here? And I didn't even know what I had
And this was your
taken on.
intuition telling you this?
Correct.
Because I think there's no better guide than what our insides tell us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And was I petrified? Yes. For the next 4 years of a very intense, tumultuous journey of surviving a near-death experience and suicide attempt, I came to the conclusion of figuring out that path to heal my body. And that consisted of going back to taking care of Candida overgrowth, taking minimal supplementation, working on emotional mental factors. You know, I definitely was a perfectionist and didn't feel good enough from childhood. And I also
I think
took
that's
out
pretty common.
very common, particularly
Yeah.
in autoimmune disease.
Right.
And then I took out 16 silver fillings without any Novocaine or anesthesia because I would have an attack. But that mercury that's part of those silver amalgam fillings was, poisoning me. And
how did you discover this about Candida and and mercury and things? Did you just read a lot? Did you do research?
well, I wasn't very mobile in the beginning. The first 8 months I was having those attacks. So there was very little literature. You have to understand this was in the
And you were
early-
bedridden.
For the basically, I could get to my bathroom and back to the couch, but I had such extreme exhaustion and nervous fatigue and tremors and spasms, and it was, So basically, for 8 months, I just cried, even though I was feeling some way, and particularly after the near-death experience is when I hooked in to know I had a purpose here and I was somehow going to make it. But it came back from Dr. Crook's work, so
So you literally did think, these challenges I'm having are going to lead to my life's purpose. Somewhere inside yourself, you kind of thought that?
No, I don't think at that time I did. I knew
Right.
that after the near-death experience that there was no way I was going to exit this body at 24.
Right.
It wasn't my time to go.
That there was
and,
something greater for you to do here.
And that I couldn't live in the gray zone. There was no way I was going to live in this body debilitated. So it was all or nothing. My proclamation to the universe was take me out or get me all the way better. And
Right.
it was through...
You didn't want an in-between.
No.
Right.
Because I didn't... It was
Who wants
scary
to live on the
to-
earth
if-
feeling not great?
If
Yeah.
you can't breathe, swallow, move, think properly, that's not, the
Yeah,
basic
good times.
things.
Yeah.
So, there was one book out there by Judy Graham called Multiple Sclerosis that gave me a little bit more insight. And between that and having read Dr. Crook's book, and then that was really the path in which I had a medical intuitive step into my life. And those were really my guidepost and how I got well. And it was really just tenacity.
And how long was that journey?
4 years.
4 years. 4 years to health.
4 years to health. I
Yeah.
say from hell to health. And,
Yeah.
and then I left Los Angeles. I was in the record business and it wasn't my passion. And I moved to Taos, New Mexico, and I really realized I had solidified my healing. And it became clear to me that I wanted to write my story.
Wow. So that was the beginning of writing your first book, which was...
Healing Multiple Sclerosis.
Right.
And that's really for anyone with autoimmune
We have
disease.
that. Yeah.
And then it just really went into realizing I want to help others heal. And so I moved to Seattle for a brief time, back to LA, and started my schooling. And I'm a nutritionist and a naturopath, hypnotherapist. I love learning. I'm very eclectic, and I've been practicing now 18 years and seen thousands of clients.
Wow. So after writing that book about healing yourself, you then did what's probably your most popular book to date, which is the Candida Diet.
The Candida
That's
Cure.
what you're most known
Yes.
for, I think. And you decided to put that into a book form so people would know what to eat and what to do in order to heal themselves, not just from MS, from what I understand, but from any autoimmune deficiency disease, yes?
Well, the Candida Cure is really for much more than autoimmune. It's for everybody I see. It's the platform and how I get people well. I discovered the longer I was in the trenches, there were common denominators that people were suffering from. And we hear everything about, the microbiome and the gut and bacteria and parasites and SIBO, but no one's talking about the mycobiome, which is the fungal part of the gut, the yeast part. And I feel that's an epidemic. And so I realized everybody was pretty much dealing with yeast. And then I realized blood sugar imbalances come in initially. Adrenals are zapped from too much stress. The liver gallbladder, which I call the oil filter, was clogged. And I started to put this program together of an anti-candida diet, detoxification, and I'm really able to get most anybody that's not a chronic condition well in 90 days.
Wow. And you think it's what we're eating and what's in our food and things like that, and our culture of being sedimentary and all of these things that lend itself to people not being well?
Absolutely. I think we're living in one of the most toxic times. We're not eating food right now. We're eating chemicals in this country, whether it's in the food supply or just environmental. we're not balancing stress the way we need to. I mean,
And does the Candida diet get people away from that?
absolutely. You're going
Right.
to stay off of, hopefully as many genetically modified foods. You're going to pull things such as alcohol, corn, sugar, dairy, gluten, which means, yes, there's still stuff to eat.
But what I love, and I thought this was brilliant, is you just came out with your third book, which is the Candida recipes.
Yes.
And I thought that was just brilliant because, it's tough for people to follow that diet, but you've actually made it so much easier by giving wonderful, palatable recipes so that people can do the diet.
Well, it took me a long time because I had to find the right chef, and Alison Charbonneau was amazing. And it came through another little health crisis of my own, and then I found her, and that's what everybody had asked me for. Can you please give me more recipes? Because it's really not about deprivation. What people need to know, because the times are so toxic, this is more about personal accountability. And you have a carnal body. Yes, you might have spiritual body, emotional, but if you don't take care of this house, it will crumble. And everybody wants quality aging.
Right.
So when you take it just in 30-day increments, it's not, and it goes by so quickly. And if you hit the reset button, and now you have clarity of mind, and you have energy and vitality.
And who doesn't want to feel better?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so
you're not looking at it as deprivation. You have to look at it as, oh, wow, this is great. I'm going to have more energy. I'm going to feel better. I'm going to do better. My life is going to feel better. I'm going to feel happier. So look at all the positives of it.
Basically, I tell people.
And it's not horrible either. I mean, you
No.
have these wonderful
I have
recipes to make it
desserts,
awesome,
yes.
actually. Yeah.
There's desserts, and the key is you're removing infection, inflammation from the body. So make it more clinical in your head. And the recipes, people thought they could never have bread. Well, now there's breads in the Candida Cure cookbook.
Oh, Oprah will be happy about that. She's like, I got to have that bread every day.
Exactly.
I'm with her.
And desserts and sauces. I don't like food boring, so
Yeah.
I really put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah.
And now you don't have to ever see me in office or through Skype. It's all available now between the Candida Cure and the Candida Cure cookbook. It's all right there for
But
you.
if somebody did want to reach you directly, then it's annboroch.com.
Correct.
You're right. And I
yes.
think that's on the screen. So, but they can pick up your books. They can go to your website. They could actually make an appointment to Skype with you. And I know you speak all over the world, so people have an opportunity to see you in person. You're going to be, I'm so excited, at the Live, Love, Thrive conference in November 12th here in West Hollywood, and going to be on the web series panel where we are showcasing 10 amazing women like yourself that are just doing awesome work in the world. So I'm very excited about that, of course. We're rolling out the premiere of that web series actually at that event.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I'd be so excited.
So let's talk about all the good work that you're doing. I know you help people around the world. One of the women, we actually have a video of her progress, and I'm very excited to share that with everybody. She's actually in Spain, yes?
Correct.
And I'm going to let you tell her
Sure.
story.
She's a client of mine. Well, she wasn't a client. She found my book, and she's been in a wheelchair for over 15 years, and she started to apply the protocol. And she reached out to me to say, you've basically changed my life, and I'm improving and I'm healing. And now if you look at this video, she's now walking.
Right.
And
She sent us a video. Are we playing that? And she didn't walk for 15 years.
correct.
And this is a video of her. I know she sent you a progression of them, like after 3 months, after 6 months, after a year. This particular one is after
I think it's after 22 months.
And she's walking. I mean,
And it's amazing
Yeah.
because not only is she walking, but she started a support group called the Candida Killers that's on Facebook. And we've had graduates, and she's co-founded it with another woman, and they've just done wonderful things that I wanted to have time to reach out. But now there's a support group for people with autoimmune and chronic conditions, and it's just exploding.
Wow.
And there's so many
they're
more people.
creating a
Yes,
movement around your
correct.
book.
And I'm
Yeah.
thrilled and honored.
Yeah. So she started a group there, and it has people not just with MS, but all sorts of autoimmune deficiencies that are having problems, and they're all helping each other now.
Correct.
That's
It's
awesome.
around the world, and even chronic disease, they're expanding because they're having more requests. And that was the toughest part for me, is the isolation. this information, social media, this wasn't around when I was dealing with MS. So I
Right.
would
So
have.
you didn't know where to look. There was nothing to
and it made the journey so
reference.
hard.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm so touched and just so grateful that it exists.
That's really cool. She's making a support group because, you know, all the research shows that people that surround themselves with community and support and love are much more likely to heal also. So that's so cool that your book led to them creating this community
Yes.
of people helping each other. And boy, there's a whole nother show. We have to talk about all the people that it's helped there in that
Yes.
group.
Yes.
Yeah. And then also, I know you have a patient that came from Mexico here to the States to do your program for 90 days. And
Well, this
I'd love to
isn't-
hear that you'd share that story.
I love what I do because not only do I get to see people get well, but it really transforms into what they continue to do. This was a case in which she was from a very poor region in Mexico. Her family saved up as much money as they could to fly her to stay with her cousin in Los Angeles to see me, and she stayed here for maybe 6 months. It probably took her 15 to 20 minutes to even get up to the second floor through the elevator to get to see me. She was in so much pain and on a walker. And she was in her 20s, and she didn't speak English.
And she had MS?
She had multiple sclerosis. And we worked together, and I said, on the first visit, I said, what is it you want to do again when you're able to walk and be free of pain? I want to dance with my daughter. So I worked with her.
And we have her picture.
She healed, and then she came for a follow-up, and she came with her daughter, and her daughter hugged me.
Oh, wow. I can't even imagine.
And just said thank you
For
for,
helping her mom.
yeah. And she goes, now I can dance with my mom.
Oh, my gosh. So she went from this extreme pain to barely walking to being able to dance. Yeah. And I know you've done that personally for a friend of mine. So not only do I know that these stories are real, but I actually have a friend of mine, Leanne Sarkissian, that you have helped, who could barely walk across the room, and now she's in dance competitions from having studied your Candida Diet and worked with you. So I know a personal friend that you've helped, and thank you for that. I mean,
My pleasure. That's the beauty is that, there's so many options, and just because I'm more in an alternative means doesn't mean that we're all not marrying this together, meaning there's a place for Western and alternative. And part of my passion is for us to work together because with the level of toxicity, 1 out of 2 have cancer, 1 out of 5 have an autoimmune disease. We are not in good position right now.
Right.
So we need everything we can, and we need to work together. And I've just had an extraordinary ride of watching so much success in my life and watching people not only heal, but then they have the energy to do what they're really passionate about, and that's why I wake up every morning.
Well, I just love that you're aligning with a huge book company. You're going to be doing, I know, tours and appearances all over on television and speaking, and you're only just getting started, Ann. And thank God that you listen to your insides and you're giving back to the world what you've been gifted to do, because you could have just kept it to yourself and said, hey, I'm well now. I'm going to continue doing you could have continued being in the music business or doing whatever.
Yeah.
But the selflessness of it is really that you've said, no, I'm going to use what I've learned to help other people. And isn't that extraordinary?
It's what it's all about. We're in this together, and I think
it.
that
And it brings the most happiness to do what it is we're here to be meant to be doing. I know a lot of people are trying to figure out, well, what is my purpose? And typically it is something that attaches to the challenges that we've had in our life. And obviously that's the case for you.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I know now you are really into also like supplements and things like this. Like I know some people, they're like, I don't know if I need supplements, but
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that. I know you're a big fan of that. What do supplements do? And how is all this going to, what we eat and all these things impact our aging and our stress? Because I know that's 2 important things to you that people need to, stress is what causes disease, so it's got to be important. How do we, address that?
Sure.
And then also, how do we age gracefully?
I think that I'd love to say if we lived 50, 60 years ago, you wouldn't talk about a supplement. So first you want to go to your food. Your food, try to get as much non-genetically modified food and organic, obviously, and be more selective. The biggest foods that are going to inflame the body the most are that: sugar, alcohol, dairy, gluten. So if you can start to just slowly implement and start to make changes to stay away from them, become conscious. But because we want to age with vitality, I think we need some of the basics. You need a great multivitamin and mineral, some extra vitamin C and E, and fish oil for the brain. And I like a superfood called nanogreens. I think it's filled with spirulina and chlorella, so it's starting to move out all the heavy metals and everything that we're getting exposed to through our water and our air. And, stress is the number one body breaker, stress and fear. So even if I have
I'm so
somebody...
happy we have none.
Yeah, we're none, right? But the reality is that even if you're subscribing to eating healthy and you're taking supplements, I still find stress will trump it.
You know what I find interesting? When I was listening to you, I'm thinking you're saying no sugar and no this and no that, no that. And I would think we got to start like a movement that says, hey, you can eat this and this and this and this, and this is healthy for you. Like all the things that we can eat.
Absolutely.
Because I think like people get so freaked out like you can't eat this, this, and this. But let's focus on what we can eat. That's awesome.
Well, and that's a good point, because when I say those are the better things to avoid, when I have someone go through the protocol for 90 days, I open up the food list and say, just have a new balance point now. So 80% of the week, try to stay more to an expanded anti-Candida diet, and once or twice a week, dip in. Enjoy yourself. I'm not asking people to be monks. But the truth is what you can eat are a ton of vegetables, and, there's fruits, and there's, nuts and seeds, and, clean meats that are grass-fed and pasture-raised. Actually, we're getting back to food. That's the issue here, is that we eat so many processed things that it's not even food. If you pick up something and there's a paragraph of ingredients, that is not food. That is chemicals. So start to read stuff. But I agree with you. It's all about what you can do versus what you can't. It's just for aging with quality, you have to have some consciousness about what goes in your system, because trash in is trash out. And then balancing the stress comes down to having accountability, to move out of denial, to recognize what you feel, what you think. Where do you put your attention? 75% of people's thoughts are negative and fear-based. So the way you start to address that is just using different mind mechanics, meditation, affirmations, being more conscious of what you think and replacing it with something better. People that are struggling with post-traumatic or a lot of anxiety use emotional freedom technique. That's an amazing, it's called EFT. It's a tapping technique. It came out of people that were vets that were dealing with post-traumatic. There's so many modalities, stuff that I would have died for when I was healing, that are available and accessible. And I think what people need to realize, this is the day and age we can talk about everything. You're not alone if you're depressed. You're not alone if you have anxiety. It's the time you can share, and you can find the support that you need.
Yeah. And you know how Oprah says, if you know better, you do better. So all we have to do is educate ourselves on, what we know so that we can do better. And by doing that, we're going to have a happier, healthier, more interesting life,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Look at your life. It's amazing. It is.
It is. Yeah. And it's just, I have a whole second half to go, and I'm excited to see what I can create. And
yeah, me too. I can't wait to see what you do. Yeah, I'm going to follow you. I'm a big fan. And I just think you're an extraordinary woman. And I think it's so awesome that you're tapping into what you're meant to do and allowing yourself to be a conduit to that. And that's a beautiful thing.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I'm honored. Thank you for recognizing that.
Thanks for being on the show. And I hope everybody visits annboroch.com and takes a look at your books and follows you. And, for the lucky ones, they get to Skype with you or meet you, like I'm so fortunate to do. So keep doing the great work and keep making a difference.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll be right back with Elaine Hall.
Do you want to have more passion and purpose in your day-to-day? Are you yearning to ignite your power within? Now, more than ever, the world needs women who dream big, inspire others, and are living their greater purpose. There's never been a better time to up your game and make your success happen now. Contact Danny Rukin for a complimentary consultation and find out more about how you can become more effective, energized, and empowered while making a difference in doing what you love. go to www.dannyrukin.com. The Live, Love, Thrive radio show is produced by 360karma.com. Are you a 360 Karma woman? If so, spread the word. Be sure to follow us on social media at 360 Karma Women on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please like us and share us with family and friends. This is the year of the woman, and we are stronger together. The Live, Love, Thrive program is brought to you in part by Honda of downtown Los Angeles, supporting the equality and empowerment of women.
And we are back with Elaine Hall. Hi, Elaine.
Hi. Oh my gosh.
Applause.
We do this in sign language for applause.
Oh, that's cool. Elaine, I'm so happy to have you on today's show. For the folks at home, what I want to do before we talk about the incredible Miracle Project that you are the founder of, I want to talk to your background and how you got to this point. So first, I know I read your book, which I loved.
Thank you.
The Now I See the Moon, beautiful book. Everybody should read it. And I know you started off in D.C., which is interesting because that's where I started out, in D.C. And I know that you mentioned in your book about because you're Jewish, feeling like a little bit of an outsider. And I always think life is like a puzzle. It's like everything that happens in our life, we don't know why it's happening at the time, but then it all comes together in the end, and like a puzzle, each piece of that life served its purpose. And for you, I think it was that feeling like an outsider that lends itself to how you feel with the autistic kids that you help today. Am I right?
It's so beautifully put. And Catherine, that's exactly how I feel. And when I was writing my book, it seemed like all paths of my life led me to where I am today.
Yeah, I think I feel the same way. Being a gay person, that I have a lot more compassion for all types of people, all ethnicities, and all sexualities, and it makes me more sensitive for that very reason that you're talking about. Because if you've been there, that you've been considered an outsider, then you have more of a compassion for that. So so what seemed like a terrible thing probably as a kid ends up being a wonderful thing that you bring to the table later in life for what you're doing now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So for me, when I had a very religious Jewish background. Can you see me?
Yeah.
And but we lived in a very non-Jewish area. So already I was a kid who celebrated Hanukkah at home and Christmas out in the world with my friends. Right. So I felt a little bit different. I was also very petite, very small.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yep, it was very
good
great.
Things come in small packages,
well, not
I
only
always
that,
say.
My dad was 5'3", and he used to say, that any woman over, not to offend anybody, but any woman over 5'2", to him wasn't attractive. So I always had a great self-esteem and sense of myself in my house.
Right. And your dad was a very positive
guy. My
guy.
dad was such a positive guy.
He sounded like a doll.
Yeah. He was wonderful. So I had a positive, very strong sense of myself inside of me. Yeah. But the outside world was very scary. Right. And so I learned to develop a real strong sense of myself. I also started dancing when I was very young, so I taught kids in my basement. We had basements in back east, right?
Oh, so that also ended up lending itself to what you do today.
Exactly. I taught kids how to sing, dance, and act in my basement.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. That was the beginnings.
Yeah.
Well, and then you went on to, in Hollywood, be quite an amazing child acting coach with a fantastic career working with kids on movie sets and television and commercials and whatnot. And I know in your book you explored, or talking about working with some of the greats. You got to meet Elizabeth Taylor. That's about as big as it gets. And Rosie O'Donnell and some others when you worked on the movie The Flintstones. Yes. And just an amazing career. And so who knew what left turn you were going to be taking, huh? We can never see it coming, right? Yes. But tell everybody a little bit about how and why you adopted your son and why you adopted him from Russia.
Okay, well, I was working on the Flintstones. And by the way, the day with Elizabeth Taylor was extraordinary.
How could it not be?
How could it not
My
be?
very first day in L.A.,
yeah.
I saw her.
Oh.
Yeah. I was at a restaurant, and she came in, and you could hear a pin drop.
Yeah.
It was total silence. She
Yeah.
was truly one of the most iconic old Hollywood stars.
She was, and the day that she was there, everyone was really nervous, and we had to dress a certain way and conduct ourselves. And she was, I was the coach for Pebbles and Bam Bam.
Right,
so it was a scene with Pebbles. And when she came to the set, everyone was very quiet, like you were saying.
Yeah,
and
it's like the Queen arrived.
The Queen has arrived, and she sat down, and I said, Miss Taylor, is this okay with you? I'm putting the child right here. And she says, oh, call me Liz.
Oh my gosh, did she really?
And just broke the ice.
And you said she was great with the kids.
Incredible with the kids.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, so it was
I'm
on
glad to
that
hear
set,
that.
and being with Rosie O'Donnell on that set, she was amazing with the two. We had twins to play one role of Bam Bam, and
because the schedule's too long for it to be
for
one child, right?
when you're underage, which is a whole thing, and they had, I was the interpreter. First of all, they were from Iceland, so English was their second language. Also, they had some challenges with understanding because their hearing was a little challenged. So I was an interpreter, not only helping them to do what's needed to be done on a set.
Right.
I also needed to get inside their world
Wow.
and really see the sets and the lights and the sounds and all these strange people from a 4-year-old's point of view.
Right. And I think that's why you're so good with kids. When I see you work with them in the film and stuff, it just seems like, you really do get into their world.
Yes, and that was exactly it. By getting into their world.
Right.
Exactly. And it prepared me.
For what was to come that you didn't know was around the corner.
Exactly.
So tell us about how and why you ended up in Russia for
Well,
your adoption.
I was on that set, and I had my second ectopic pregnancy when I was working there.
Right.
And learned that I was not able to give birth biologically.
Wow.
I always wanted to adopt anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I grieved that I couldn't give birth biologically, but then I knew that my mission was to bring a child. My grandfather is Russian, and I wanted to bring someone to, and he was an orphan in Russia.
Your grandpa?
My grandpa.
Oh, so then you went and got an orphan.
I got an orphan in Russia.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
What a great story behind your adoption and your reason for it. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And then look how it changed your life. So.
Oh my gosh! Well, I ended up getting Bam Bam. He looked just like Bam Bam. He had blonde, short hair and beautiful brown eyes, and was this beautiful little boy. As soon as I met him, he ran into my arms. He was 2 years old, and I knew he was my child.
It's kind of love at first sight.
It was love at first sight.
Aw.
I knew he was my son. So when we got home and to back to Los Angeles, and he was opening and closing doors and staring at his hand for hours at a time and banging his head, I just thought, well, he's been in an orphanage his whole life.
Yeah.
He just needs some time and some love. He'll catch up, and he didn't catch up.
Right. And so at what point did you realize that he had autism? After a couple months, or?
No, I was hear no evil, see no evil. I didn't want to hear anything except this is my son.
Right.
And plus this was 20 years ago.
Yes.
So we did
so
not.
little was known about it.
Very little was known.
Right. In fact, I didn't really know much about it till I read your book, saw your show, saw the film, and I've learned so much about it. So I'm glad you're educating people.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know. All I knew was that this was my son and I wanted to reach him.
Right.
And so, yeah.
And so finally you took him to a doctor and got the diagnosis, or?
Well, what happened is I started to reach him by doing what I do with kids in the film business.
Right.
I joined his world. So if he would flap, I didn't know what that was, but I would just flap with him.
Yeah.
And we'd be birds just flapping around together.
That's so
and,
sweet.
if he would spin in circles, we'd make it ring around the rosies.
Right.
And play together, and we connected.
And inside yourself, did you know it was autism, or you
No,
didn't
I
even
didn't know from
you
autism.
didn't know what it was?
No, I just knew that I needed to connect with my child.
Right.
When he was 3 years
And
old.
this is really good because
Yeah.
some people may not recognize it, so it's good we're talking about that because they might have the symptoms in their child and not recognize it, although it's more common today. I mean, back then it was like 1 in 10,000 children had this, right? And today, according to the documentary, I mean, it's 1 in 150. And what do you attribute that to?
Catherine, it's 1 in 68.
Oh, it's 1 in 68 now.
Now it's been redone. 1 in 68.
1 in 68,
Yeah,
and it doesn't even really show up until like they're like 2 years old or something, right?
Well, actually, there's a lot of different aspects of autism, and some show in children at very young ages. They're able now to diagnose babies that are not responding in certain ways, and there's all kinds of clues and things that you can be looking for, and milestones that you can be looking for.
And why do you think there's this surge in it? Why is it 1 in 68? What's going on? Is it true that it could be the vaccines?
Well, I'm not a scientist, so
you don't want to say.
I don't know. I don't have. What I know is that it could be the toxicity in the environment, and Kristen Stills talks about it in the movie. In Autism the Musical, is it the toxins in the environment?
Right.
Is it vaccines? Is it foods? Is it genetic? And there's scientists, brilliant scientists out there right now that are researching all of this. All I know, and what my work is dedicated to, is helping families find the best in their child and the best in themselves.
And so, once you had Neil and you were dealing with the autism, what made you decide to start the Miracle Project to help other families with kids with autism?
So I had Neil. I was able to reach him in ways that traditional therapists couldn't reach him. I found a doctor in Maryland, Dr. Stanley Greenspan, and a speech pathologist in Rhode Island, Dr. Barry Prezant, who encouraged me to do what I was intuitively doing. And I was learning from the best, the experts. And since traditional therapists thought that I was crazy because I'm joining autism, I started training my actor, writer, musician friends how to join the autistic world, now with knowledge. And I created something called the 7 Keys to Understand Autism.
Right, which is your other book.
My other book?
Yes.
Yeah. And so I created a whole methodology to train people how to reach my son. And by doing that, we created this entire new way of being, using music, dance, and drama to reach the so-called unreachable children. And what everyone discovered, and what I've discovered with autism, is that our kids, friends with autism, are some of the most extraordinary human beings on the planet.
Wow.
And that we think we're here to cure them, but it's not about that.
Right.
I feel that my son has cured me.
Right.
Of my need for normal.
Right.
Of my desire to fit in.
Yes.
Of looking at the world from his lens and his perspective. And
you mentioned teaching patience and unconditional love and all of these wonderful traits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Did someone recommend to you to start this?
So I had this theater program. I'd
yeah.
been working, in Hollywood. I'd also had a program called Kids on Stage, and one of the mothers who became a dear friend, Michelle Wolf, encouraged me. She said, what you're doing at home with Neil and all your theater background, why don't you start a theater program for kids with disabilities, with autism and cerebral palsy, and I'm like, I'm not a professional in that field. I don't know what I'm doing.
Wow.
She said, I'll help you. Just write a grant. And I saw her. It was on a Monday. She started an organization called Hammer Cause, and we were at the Zimmer Children's Museum. And she said, you really need to do this, Elaine. I said, I don't have time. On Tuesday, I was in court, and I lost all my child support and spousal support. I'd gone through a divorce, and I was broke, really broke. And on Wednesday, I grieved. On Thursday, I called Michelle, And I said, Michelle, what's that grant you were talking about? I'm going to write it. I need a job. I need to work.
Wow.
And I need to do something.
And really, if you hadn't been pushed to that level, you probably wouldn't have done this. Unbelievable.
I didn't have enough faith.
Yeah.
So I wrote the grant in literally 24 hours. It was due Friday.
Wow.
Michelle looked it over.
And this was the beginning of the Miracle Project.
That was the beginning of the Miracle Project.
Wow. And then HBO came a-knockin' and made a documentary, which won Emmy Awards, called Autism the Musical.
Yes.
And it follows your story of how you created this theater group and how you put together song and dance to help heal these children with autism, and the journey is just amazing. The film, everybody should rent that. I take it. It's on Amazon. And
you can get it on Amazon.
Yeah,
Yes,
Autism the Musical. It's very moving and amazing, your journey, like how you started off really not knowing where it was going to go, and the amazing end results. And now, not only are you doing that, but like I just saw your show you put on at the Wallace in Beverly Hills. I mean, does it get any bigger than that? And how wonderful! I mean, and it was, I didn't know what I was going to see. Honestly, I was just really open-minded, and I thought, oh, this is wonderful, and it was so moving. It brought us to tears. It was to see those kids shine and happy and in a zone that they otherwise could never be in if you didn't bring that song and dance into their lives. It's really amazing how music is so healing.
Yes, music is healing.
To
And
all people.
Exactly. And it's a
To
great
all people.
equalizer because all of our classes, when I created the Miracle Project, I didn't want a program for kids with autism. I wanted to build a community. I wanted to build a community where everyone belongs. And that's theater. We're all quirky in theater. So there isn't any judgment of who has a disability, who doesn't have a disability.
Right.
It's really
We're
about
all just people.
We're all just
one.
people.
We're all one.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
and like what I mean,
Love is love.
Love is love. And like what you mentioned, I mean, because of the film, I've had kids and teens and young adults perform at the United Nations.
Wow, that's awesome.
I have a student, Spencer, and I can use her name because Spencer, her mom is very proud of who she is, and she came to our classes, and in the beginning she cried and rolled on the floor and was very withdrawn with tremendous anxiety.
Is she the singer?
And yep,
Oh, beautiful singer.
she's now, as
Yes.
she says, opera came out of her throat.
Oh,
She's now an opera singer. She's
my
performed
gosh.
on stage at the Pantages Theater
oh my gosh.
with
I have
Jack Black
goosebumps.
and Stephen Stills
Oh
and Neil
my
Young.
gosh, oh my
My
gosh.
son, nonverbal autistic, presented at the United Nations
Wow.
using his iPad. Praise be Steve Jobs because it's given him a voice. He presents all over the country, and we have.
How old is your son now?
He's 22.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And Spencer, I took her to China with me, and she.
Really?
Yeah.
So you travel all over the world with this message now.
Yes.
That music is a healer, and
Yes.
these kids can sing and dance. And I think people, when I saw the film, it kind of looked like at your first meeting that the parents were very skeptical.
Yes.
You know, and I do see. I know you have, a real mix of people in your initial group, and this can hit any family, celebrity or otherwise. This is it doesn't see any boundaries. It's like autistic children are everywhere in the world, every country, every
Yes.
type of family, and
Yes.
but you, like you say, you bring everybody together to see that. It's something that we all need to come together and embrace.
Yes.
And cherish.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
My friends and my students and my son with autism, to me, they're the most authentic, pure, beautiful spirits that I've ever had the privilege to be around.
Yeah.
And it's taken my journey with them to help them create an environment where they can shine.
Right.
And that's really what the Miracle Project. And we just did a play, the show that you saw, The Intimidation Game, which is an anti-bullying play.
And I love that.
And
that
they
it's
shared
anti-bullying.
because
Because these kids get bullied.
80% of our kids get bullied.
Right.
Overt bullying.
Right.
But then there's the covert bullying. There's the bullying that they receive, people talking about them as if they're not there. And we have a song called Invisible.
Oh, yes. It's beautiful. The soundtrack of this play is amazing.
And we're going to make the play. The play is now going to be available we have the sheet music and the script and CDs so that people can actually put on this play in any school.
I'm so excited about that.
We're raising the funds to be able to create a whole touring company and the Miracle Project as well.
Right.
And this summer we had Broadway performers.
Oh my gosh.
Working with our students. We had we had Nicole Parker, who played Elphaba on Broadway, came and sang Defying Gravity with our students. And that's what's so great about being at the Wallace. In the fall, we've started a liaison with Brown University through the Daniel Jordan Fiddle Foundation, and starting an adult program where we're going to be training people how to work with adults creatively with autism. And then I'm starting to consult and train other organizations how to create the Miracle Project.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And it's themiracleproject.org. I know we have it on the screen.
Yes.
If people want to either volunteer or get their children involved in it, or if they want to donate, because let's face it, it needs funding. Any great project does.
Yes.
And that's a great way for people to give back and make a difference, is to get behind a wonderful program like this. And I know you're trying to get this in schools around the country.
Yes.
And so that's the word we want to spread to people that, any school, but if they're a principal or a counselor or involved with any schools anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, they can learn through the Miracle Project how to put on these programs in their schools.
In their schools, exactly.
And I love the message of the intimidation game about why children shouldn't bully each other. But what I love is that I think if this is shown in the schools, it will help children understand why they shouldn't bully these children or any children. It's a wonderful
Exactly.
message.
It's not about autism. And that's what we have a song, it's called Me Too. And it's not about autism. It's really people have to be able to love themselves enough to be able to be open and compassionate to others.
Yes.
And we had a student in the audience who had been bullied his entire life. And we performed the intimidation game at the Wallace for 140 middle schoolers. And one student wrote us a 4-page letter on how he had been bullied and felt left out. And this was the first time he heard his voice. We had bullies write us letters saying, I bully people because I don't like myself. And your play showed me that there's a different way, because we have a bully in the play, you saw.
Yes.
And we really don't just say, stop bullying, because it's not about stop bullying.
Right.
It's about people really loving themselves, honoring themselves.
Right.
And it's about the those who aren't bullied.
Yeah.
The bystanders.
Right.
Being part of a group
Yes.
and helping others.
To stop
so
it.
that the child or the teen or the young adult is not alone.
There's a song that says, I want to love myself so I can love you, something like that. You know? So they have to love themselves first so that they can love other people.
Right. And that's the message of my training, my 7 keys to unlock and understand autism that I'm now training people all over the world, is not about how to cure autism.
Right.
It's about the person who's in the presence of someone with autism, being able to accept their own self, to center, to be calm, to be present, so that a person with autism can reveal their truth without judgment, without people looking at them like they're weird or strange, but so that we can just be two humans on the planet and learn from each other. And that's really the mission.
And I started the show off saying so many times people's challenges are what their life's purpose is.
Yes.
And that certainly is the case for you. Yes. I mean, I'm sure when you were, coaching kids and growing up and being in Hollywood, everything, you weren't thinking in a million years that this is what you'd be doing. But what a beautiful difference you're making in the world.
Thank you.
For these children, the people that have these children, and for the world at large, just having the message that love is the healer.
Love is the healer.
Thank you so much, Elaine.
Oh,
Keep
thank
doing
you.
your wonderful work, and thank you for being here today. And everyone, be sure to visit themiracleproject.org so that you can become a part of that. And please follow our shows every week here on UBN, and follow us on 360 Karma Women on Facebook and Twitter. And just make it a great week. Be sure to give back, pay it forward. Hugs and happiness.
Do you want to have more passion and purpose in your day-to-day? Are you yearning to ignite your power within? Now, more than ever, the world needs women who dream big, inspire others, and are living their greater purpose. There's never been a better time to up your game and make your success happen now. Contact Danny Rukin for a complimentary consultation and find out more about how you can become more effective, energized, and empowered while making a difference in doing what you love. Go to www.dannyrukin.com. The Live, Love, Thrive program is brought to you in part by Honda of downtown Los Angeles, supporting the equality and empowerment of women. The Live, Love, Thrive radio show is produced by 360karma.com. Are you a 360 Karma woman? If so, spread the word. Be sure to follow us on social media at 360 Karma Women on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please like us and share us with family and friends. This is the year of the woman, and we are stronger together.